the cause of all causes. कालात् गुणव्यतिकरः परिणामः स्वभावतः कर्मणो जन्म महतः पुरुषादिष्टेदात्मतः. From time, eternal time. Now, Purusha incarnation, after the first Purusha incarnation, that is Karnadakshay Vishnu, the Mahatattva or the principles of material creation take place. And then time is manifested, course of time, the three qualitative appear, the three qualities appear. Nature means the three qualitative appearance. They transform into activities. Now, how this whole creation is happening, first is the Lord appears as the first Purusha. Karana ocean he is lying. And from the Karana ocean, the transformation is happening. Swabhavataha, from the nature. Nature's activities, the creation, Mahatattva, Purusha incarnations of the Lord. Because of the Purusha incarnation, that is Karanadakshayi Vishnu. So, in this way, if we see, glorification of Narayana is done in the previous verses. So, Narayana is everything. In this way, Narada is speaking to Brahma. Actually, I want to know unto whom you are meditating upon. That means that you are not the creator, original creator. There's somebody beyond. Narada is asking this to Brahmaji. Narada is the Manasa Putra of Brahma. Then Brahma says how this whole creation is happening. How Karanadakshayi Vishnu glances over the Mahatattva. First, the Mahatattva is manifested. Kala Shakti, Jiva Shakti, they're all influenced. And because of the Mahatattva, three modes of material nature, they appear. And then they transform into activities by the course of time. Activities are done by the three modes of material nature only. That's how the body is given, no? That is given here. Adi Satvik Mataji, read. Read. Your voice is not heard. Unmute. Any difficulty? Unmute. Or Amara Krishna Prabhu, you read.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी तन प्रणाम। कालाद गुण व्यक्ति करह परिणाम स्वभावतः कर्मणो जन्म महता पुरुष अधिष्ठाद अभूत। ट्रांसलेशन एंड prepared by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada की जय। Translation. After the incarnation of the first Purusha, Karanadakshayi Vishnu, the Mahat Tattva or the principles of material creation take place, and then time is manifested. And in course of time, the three qualities appear. Nature means the three qualitative appearances. They transform into activities, purpose. By the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, the whole material creation evolves by the process of transformation and reactions one after another, and by the same omnipotency, they are wound up again one after one after another and conserved in the body of the Supreme. Kal or time is the synonym of nature and is the transformed manifestation of the principles of material creation. As such, Kala may be taken as the first cause of all creation. And by transformation of nature, different activities of the material world become visible. These activities may be taken up as the natural instinct of each and every living being or even of the inert objects. And after the manifestation of activities, there are varieties of products and byproducts and of the same nature. Originally, these are all due to the Supreme Lord. The Vedanta Sutra and the Bhagavatam begin with the absolute truth as the beginning of all creation. Tanmadasya yataha. Hare.
Janmadasya Anmayantartah. Oh, sometimes he creates, sometimes he gives the energy to create. Itaratah. Sometimes he does it. And secondary creation is given to Brahmaji. How Brahmaji created these plants, these animals, these human. Mahatastu Vikarvadad, Vikurvanad, Rajah, Vikurvanad, Rajah, Sattvo, Brahmita, Sattvopa तमः प्रधानस्त्वभवत् द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियात्मकः. So Mahattattva, first is Mahattattva, that is agitated. When it is agitated, material activities are created. Because Jiva Shakti is infused, Kala Shakti is infused, and Mahattattva has three modes of material nature. That is how the first creation is the elemental creation. These are known as elemental creation. The Mahattattvas, Panchabhutas, ego, then sense perceptions, devatas controlling the body, all these things. Now, what is happening is here Rajaha Sattvaha Upa Brahmitat. The transformation of modes of goodness and passion happens. And later, due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge comes into play. So, actually, ignorance, because of ignorance, this matter, knowledge, and different kinds of activities they come to play. The activities, whatever we are doing, is nothing but material activities is nothing but mode of ignorance only. First sato comes, rajas comes, but when tamo comes, everything gets manifested. So in ignorance, this knowledge, what they are seeing here, the matter, its knowledge, that means material knowledge is ignorance actually. Because of avidya, a jiva is going on performing activities. In that he gets he has a knowledge how to perform an activity, but that is ignorance only. When we say ignorance, what is the meaning of ignorance? Forgetfulness of one's nature. That is why involved in matter. Different types of material knowledge comes into being or come into play. Hmm. Read Hatri Satri read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Sorry, my phone wasn't working. Text 23.
Oh.
Mahatastu bikurvanadrajah sattapa bringhitat tamaha pradhanasta stvabhavat dravya jnana kriyatmakaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Material activities are caused by the Mahatattvas being agitated. At first, there is transformation of the modes of goodness and passion, and later, due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge come into play. Purport. Material creations of every descriptions are more or less due to the development of the mode of passion, rajas. The Mahatattva is the, just a minute, principle. The Mahatattva is the principle of material creation, and
It is
when
the
it is
basis. Principle means it is the basis.
Principle. Mahatattva is the principle of material creation. And when it is agitated by the will of the Supreme, at first the modes of passion and goodness are prominent. And afterwards, the mode of passion being generated in due course by material activities of different varieties becomes prominent. And the living entities are thus involved more and more in ignorance. Brahma is the representation of the mode of passion, and Vishnu is the representation of the mode of goodness, while the mode of ignorance is represented by Lord Shiva, the father of material activities. Material nature is called the mother, and the initiator for materialistic life is the father, Lord Shiva. All material creation by the living entities is therefore initiated by the mode of passion. With the advancement of the duration of life in a particular millennium, the different modes act by gradual development. In the age of Kali, within bracket, when the mode of passion is most prominent, material activities of different varieties in the name of advancement of human civilization take place. And the living entities become more and more involved in forgetting their real identity, the spiritual nature. By a slight cultivation of the mode of goodness, a glimpse of spiritual nature is perceived. But due to the prominence of the mode of passion, the mode of goodness becomes adulterated. Therefore, one cannot transcend the limits of the material modes, and therefore realization of the Lord, who is always transcendental to the modes of material nature, becomes very difficult for the living entities. Even though prominently situated in the mode of goodness through cultivation of the various methods, in other words, the gross matters are Adi Bhutam. Their maintenance is Adi Daivam. And the initiator of material activities is called Adhyatma. In the material world, these three principles act as prominent features, namely as raw material, its regular supplies, and its use in different varieties of material creations for sense enjoyment by the bewildered entities. Ooh, that towards the end, Mataji, it is a little confusing.
Adhibhuta, the elements. Okay, Adideva, the devatas who are maintaining. And then come Adhyatma. Adhyatma. What is given for Adhyatma?
Adhyatma is and the initiator of material activities.
Your consciousness. Adhyatma means mind and intelligence. Adhyatma, body and mind. That is the initiator. You need a body to work, right? You need a body to work. Then you have elements to work.
Yeah.
The gross elements. Then there should be, that is known as Adhibhutam. Adhibhuta. There is a gross elements, gross matter,
Elements. Yes.
gross matters. Then maintenance is done by Adidevam. Adhyatma is the initiator of material activities. Adhyatma. Your internal inner consciousness, your desires. Adhyatma.
Oh, desires.
Mhm. How the whole work happens because of these three. How the tapa is also there because of these three. Three types of tapa we say, na? Adhyatma tapa, that means related to the body and the mind. Adhibhutam, others give. Adidevam, Lord does. When you say others, that means what? Elements, matter.
Yes.
So in the same way, the whole work also, you are taking the initiative. Your mind is taking, your desire is taking the initiative. Then you have Adhibhutam. You need na other things also. If I have to cook, I don't need. Suppose I want to make chapati, I need some belan also. I need tawa also. That is Adhibhutam. I need everything. And then again, who does that maintenance? Devatas. They provide. Okay, understood?
Yeah.
So these three things can be used even in the activity, and from that activity again, the misery is also because of these three things only.
Yeah. Yes.
That is why ignorance is the basis. Ignorance. Actually, everybody is in Sato, but that Sato is forgotten. The Jiva is connected to Lord, so it should be actually having Sato. But in Rajas and Tamas, what is the difference? The intensified rajas is tamas. When the rajas intensifies, it converts into tamas. And because of this ignorance, what happens? The work is initiated. Work means what? Forgetfulness for Krishna and just gross, strolling in this material world, performing activities and experiencing misery, thinking that I am happy. You make a house, afterwards the same house gives a problem. You make a family, family gives a problem. Whatever we make, the same thing gives a problem. Whatever activities, that activities is the cause for our problem.
So true.
ओहंकार इति प्रोक्तो विकुर्वन् समभूत्रिधा वैकारिकस्तैजसश्च वैकारिकस्तैजसश्च तामसश्चेति यद्विधा द्रव्यशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति इति प्रभो. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as goodness, passion, ignorance, and three divisions. Namely, the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creation, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. So now, the same ego transforms into three. That is goodness, passion, ignorance. In passion, evolution of matter happens. Then, in passion, knowledge of material creation. Knowledge should be there, sato. Intelligence that guides such materialistic activities, that is tamas. So you can put that into this category also. Anything evolution means passion. Creation means passion. Maintenance means sato. Destruction means tamas. So you see, evolution became. Then maintenance, knowledge of material creation. You have knowledge, then only you will maintain. And then guiding such materialistic activity, which is going to be destroyed. That is why here ahankara took three forms. So vaikarikaha, that is goodness, taijasaha, passion, tamasaha, ignorance. So dravya shakti, kriya shakti, jnana shakti. Dravya shakti, passion. Jnana shakti, sato. Kriya shakti, tamas. Only in ignorance we initiate to create in this material world. Power that evolve matter, dravya shakti. It evolves matter. That is known as sato. Okay. Kriya jnana bala. Kriya, dravya, kriya, jnana. Okay, understood this? Krishna Priya ji.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Mataji. So ahankara iti prokto vikurvan samabhutritha vaikarikastejasasra tamasascheti yadbadha dravyasekti kriyasektir jnanasektir prabho. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions, namely the power that evolve matter, knowledge of material creations, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. Purport. Materialistic ego, or the sense of identification with matter, is grossly self centered, devoid of clear knowledge of this existence of God. And this self centered egoism of the materialistic living entities is the cause of their being conditioned by the other paraphernalia and continuing their bondage of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, this self centered egoism is very nicely explained in the 7th chapter, verse 24 through 27. The self centered impersonalists, without a clear conception of personality of Godhead, concludes in his own way that the personality of Godhead takes a material shape from his original impersonal spiritual existence for a particular mission. And this misleading conception of Supreme Lord by the self centered impersonalist continues even though he is seen to be very interested in the Vedic literatures such as the Brahma Sutras and other highly intellectual sources of knowledge. This ignorance of impersonal features of the Lord is due simply to ignorance of the mixture of different modes. The impersonalists thus cannot conceive for the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss, and existence. This reason is that the Lord reserves the right of not exposing himself to the non devotees who, even after a thorough study of literatures like a Bhagavad Gita, remains as impersonalists simply by obsceneness. The obsceneness is due to the action of Yogamaya, a personal energy of the Lord that acts like an aide de camp by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalists. Such a bewildered human being is described as mudha or grossly ignorant because he is unable to understand the transcendental form of the Lord as being unborn and unchangeable. If the Lord takes a form or material shape from his original impersonal feature, that it means that he is born and changeable from impersonal to personal. But he is not changeable, nor does he ever take a new birth like a conditioned soul. The conditioned soul may take a form birth after birth due to his conditional existence in matter. But the self centered impersonalists, by their gross ignorance, accept the Lord as one of them because of self centered egoism. Even after so called advancement of knowledge in the Vedanta, the Lord, being situated in the heart of every individual living entity, knows very well in the tendency of such conditioned soul in terms of past, present, and future. But the bewildered conditioned soul hardly can know him in his eternal form. By the will of the Lord, therefore, the impersonalists, even after knowing the Brahman and Paramatma, features of the Lord, remains ignorant of his eternal personal features as ever existent, Narayana, transcendental to all material creation. The cause of such gross ignorance is constant engagement by the materialistic man in the matter of artificially increasing material demands. To realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to purify the materialistic senses by devotional service. The mode of goodness are the Brahmanical cultural recommended in the Vedic literatures is helpful to such spiritual realization, and thus the Jnana Sakti stage of the conditioned soul is comparatively better than the other two stages, namely the Dravya Sakti and the Kriya Sakti. The whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw material for industrial purposes. And the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. In order to rectify this great anomaly of materialistic civilization based on the principles of Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti, one has to adopt the process of devotional service of the Lord by adoption of the principles of Karma Yoga mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9.2.27 as follows: Yat karosi yat asnasi yat joshi yadats yat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kuruseva mad arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Hare Krishna.
Dravya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Dravya Shakti in the mode of passion, desire to evolve the matter, Dravya Shakti. And then you have the intelligence, that is the knowledge of material creation, that is goodness, and the intelligence that is guiding the materialistic activities, that is passion. Also, there is ignorance. First was passion, next there is Dravya Shakti is passion, and then your comes is Jnana Shakti, the knowledge, and the Kriya Shakti, the working abilities. There is Kriya Shakti. So, in this way, the whole ego has been transformed into three: self centered, materialistic ego. You see, self centered people, they cannot tolerate anything you tell them, they will prove that they are right. That is self centered people. That is how their things, their ego is transformed. They don't have that love for Krishna. Their ego is high. They forget that they are servant of Krishna. They cannot tolerate even a small insult. They cannot. And that is why their ego is into three. In this material world, either they'll be very good or they'll be very much passionate or always doing the work. Else. Even being good in the society is also horrible actually. In this way. तामसादपि भूतादे विकुर्वाण अभुन्नवः तस्य मात्रा गुणः शब्दो लिंगम यत् दृष्टुदृश्यो.
Mataji, we have reached Shloka 24. You are reading 25.
अच्छा अच्छा. We did now Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Dravya Shakti just now.
24 done, Mataji. 25 only we need to.
25, where are you?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah.
तामसा अपि भूतादे विकुर्वाणात् अभूत् नवः तस्य मात्रा गुणः शब्दः लिंगम यत् दृष्टदृश्योः. So this false ego is actually dark. The darkness of false ego. First of the five elements, namely the sky is generated. Then its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in the relationship of the sea. So from the ego, The elements have to be created. The first element is what? We have earth, water, fire, air, ether. Ether is sky. First comes the sky. Sky means the sound. From the sound comes the touch. Then comes the form. Then comes the smell, the taste. Then comes the smell. How to understand this? Very simple. It's very dark. Yeah? Very dark. I'm hearing some sound. And I walk in the direction. Then what I'm doing? I'm touching air. Understood? Air refers to touch. Sky refers to sound. So from sound came air. I'm trying to touch. Oh, I'm going to relate now. Oh, this is I find one tail in this. Oh, I find two horns. I find one hump. Okay, then this is a form. That is how the form is created within our consciousness. It is dark. That means I have forgotten the original form of Krishna. I have forgotten my relationship with Krishna. So, in this way, in the material world, I am creating different forms just by touch, by the sound. Okay. So, by the sound, I have, by the sound, I feel it now. I feel it. I touch it. When I touch it, then I think of a form. Then I try to taste it. Taste doesn't mean you are licking it. I'm trying to check what type of form it must be, tasting it. And in this way, I can smell it. Somebody is talking about me. Okay. Oh, I heard the sound. I heard. Then I'm trying to touch the topic. Who did this? You see. Then I create a form within myself. Oh, yes, he spoke about me, that and this, all these things. In this way, what happens is I am now tasting the subject. I'm relishing this type of subject. Taste also means relishing. Materialistic talks relish materialistic subjects, that is, tasting the subject. In this way, I can smell, oh, there is a foul game which is going on.
Mataji, this comparison I am not able to understand, which is given in translation. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen. Seer and seen relationship, it is okay. Seer is seeing and he is seeing something which is
Same
to
thing,
so relationship is
same
there.
thing,
But
same.
what is
So
the
in the same
means
way,
relation of
size and
sound and sky? I am not able to understand.
Sign, the ether is the vacuum where sound travels. When you say ether, there is sky. In the sky only the sound is traveling. In air, sound doesn't travel. In the sky,
Okay.
there is an element which is known as ether, in which the sound travels.
Sound travels only in ether, Akash.
Yes.
Has this word anything to do with Akash Vani? When we say from Akash, the Vani is coming.
Yes, that is why
That is how we
Akash.
say when Vani comes, means sound
We
comes, it
will
comes
say
from Akash.
Akash Vani is there. Like how the seer and seen cannot be separated, Akash and Vani cannot be separated. And then after that, air. You remember this: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Okay, now from Ulta you have to go. Sky, air, fire, water, earth.
Out of the five elements, the most subtle form is sky, Akash.
So now sound, touch, form, taste, smell, sense perceptions. Come down. You relate anything. It always starts with sound. Our consciousness is based first on sound. If our consciousness is like corrupted, contaminated, Again, what happens? The sound makes us taste, smell. We have different experiences. The moment our false ego sprouts, gone. Everything from down only goes wrong. I hear so many things. Then I try to touch the subject, experience the subjects. In this way it goes on.
Bhakti also starts from hearing, that is sound.
Yes, bhakti also starts from sound. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padaseva. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivekam. Shravanam. Everything starts from sound only. Now we are talking about material. So let us see the subject itself. Now, if we just change the whole thing, divert the whole thing, instead of hearing something nonsense, I hear about Krishna. There are imaginary hearings also. That is also there. False ego makes us hear so many things which is actually not there. Still we'll be hearing. Oh, he spoke like this. Oh, something wrong is going on. Something wrong is going on. That means what? Imagination in hearing also. That is why Shravanam has been given. Which Shravanam? About Krishna. So that our consciousness will be pure. Okay. Navasotha vikurvana abhusparsha guno nilaham
Mataji,
paranvaya.
translation and purpose we have not read.
What we are not? Achha, we are not hearing.
25 we have not read purport.
Okay. Kusumanjali Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam. तामसादपि भूतादेर्विकुर्वाणाद् अभून्नवः तस्य मात्रा गुण शब्दो लिङ्गं यद्द्रष्टर दृश्ययो. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen. Purport: the five elements, namely sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are all but different qualities of the darkness of false ego. This means that the false ego is a sum total form of Mahat Tattva, is generated from the marginal potency of the Lord, and due to this false ego of lording it over the material creation, ingredients are generated for the false enjoyment of the living being. The living being is practically the dominating factor over the material elements as the enjoyer, though the background is a supreme Lord. Factually, save and except the Lord, no one can be called the enjoyer, but the living entity falsely desires to become the enjoyer. This is the origin of false ego. When the bewildered living being desires this, the shadow elements are generated by the will of the Lord, and the living entities are allowed to run after them as after a phantasmagoria. It is said that first the tal matra sound is created and then the sky, and in this verse it is confirmed that actually it is so, but sound is the subtle form of the sky, and the distinction is like that between the seer and the seen. The sound is a representation of the actual object, as the sound produced speaking of the object gives an idea of the description of the object. Therefore, sound is a subtle characteristic of the object. Similarly, sound representation of the Lord in terms of his characteristics is the complete form of the Lord, as was seen by Vasudeva and Maharaj Dasharath, the fathers of Lord Krishna and Lord Ram. The sound representation of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself, because the Lord and his representation in sound are absolute knowledge. Lord Chaitanya has instructed us that in the holy name of the Lord, as sound representation of the Lord, all the potencies of the Lord are invested. Thus, one can immediately enjoy the association of the Lord by the pure vibration of the sound representation of his holy name, and the concept of the Lord is immediately manifested before the pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is not aloof from the Lord even for a moment. The holy name of the Lord, as recommended in the Shastras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, may therefore be constantly chanted by the devotee, aspiring to be constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord. One who is thus able to associate with the Lord is sure to be delivered from the darkness of the created world, which is a product of false ego. Tamasi ma jyotirgama. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Nabasotha
Mataji,
Vikurvara.
one clarification. How do we understand the sound representation of the Lord concept?
What is Om?
How do we understand the concept of sound representation of the Lord? What is the meaning?
Om. Om is a sound representation, na?
Om.
Om. Same Om comes as Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Om is an impersonal sound representation. Now, how to understand the person who is representing that Om? That is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is why sound representation.
Okay.
The more you chant, the more you can understand. Now let us see. Now we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then what happens? You're touching the subject. Which subject? The spiritual subject. Then you can understand. Spirituality means form. It's not formless. And then you can understand. You can relish, taste, you can relish the subject. And then smell the wonderful fragrance. So in this way, sound representation makes us understand so many things just by chanting Hare Krishna. Navasotha vikurvara bhutasparsha guno nilah paranvaya chabdavamscha prana oja sahobalam vayorapi vikurvara kalakarma svabhavatah udapadyata tejo vai rupavat स्पर्श शब्दवत् तेजसस्तु विकुर्वाणा आसिद्धम्भो रसात्मकं रूपवत् वच्चाभ्यो वच्चाम्भो घोषवच्च परान्वया विशेषस्तु विकुर्वाणा विशेषश्च विकुर्वाण अम्भसो गन्धवानभृ परान्वयात् रसस्पर्श शब्दरूपगुणान्वितः न नभः. Thus Nabha Vikurvana is transformed into air, that is touch, the quality of touch. And previous succession, the air is full of sound. The basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, bodily sense, strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with a sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is transformation of water, full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and touch, and it also has full of sound. Water being transformed from all variegatedness on the earth appears odorous and as previously become the qualitative, the full of jewels, touch, sound, form, respectively. Same thing from down to up you are going. Sound to touch, touch to form, touch to sight, no? Form. The sound to touch, touch to the form, that means you're going to see it, sight, and then comes the
Juice and
taste,
taste.
then comes the smell. So that is what is given. Like this, everything is transformed. One is transformed to another, another to another in this. That becomes a principal basis. Now here one line is given, just see. The sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch. By previous succession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, bodily strength. So duration of life is dependent on this. Sense perception. How to understand this duration of life? From where this duration of life has come now? How duration of life has come?
When our breath is gone, we don't air doesn't go into the body, breath is gone, yeah, and then life is finished. Does it mean that? No.
What is given? Sound. And the basic principle of duration of life. Now, sound, how it is the basic principle of duration of life? Air is full of sound, right? And that is the basic principle. Yes, air, vayu. So there are 5 types of vayu in our body. Prana vayu, apana vayu, samana, udana, vayana, like this. So that becomes the air also means the touch. Very important, touch. When you say touch, that doesn't mean that you have to touch. Touch means understanding a subject. You're touching a subject, you say, no, oh, I'm touching this subject. That subject becomes, the touch of the subject becomes the duration of life. You touch something wrong, duration of life goes out. You touch the spiritual subject, the duration of life increases. Mental power increases. Bodily power increases. On the contrary, you touch something nonsense, everything gone. Our body power will go, mental power will go. Why there are people who are crackpots? Why? Why a person is in depressed condition? Hypertension, depressed condition. Why? The touch. Which subject they have touched? Air. That is why Vayu plays an important role in our life. We have to balance the air. As I said, if a person's Vata increases, his mind control is not there. He will speak something nonsense because Vata increases, it goes in the head. Those who are people who are not able to sleep, who are depressed, who think a lot for no reason, that is why nose ghee is applied, so that their Vata will reduce. The air does not go in the head. The moment the air goes in the head, a person speaks nonsense for no reason. It is very much important to think about the subject. This subject is a vast subject. That is how, when the doctors check Ayurveda, what they do, they check our balance, air balance. How is our air in the body? 5 types of air are running in this body: prana, vayana, udana, samana, apana. So the 5 types of air, how we are balancing it. As in the morning hours, you drink something like alkaline water. Why? So that our air in the body is maintained. This air plays a lot of important role. That is where you touch. The touch can come in the, touch comes in the level of intelligence also. Understood? This is the whole subject, this whole paragraph. You see the three things what they have put: duration of life, sense perception, mental power, bodily strength. Everything for the basic principle is would care. And from where it started? Sound. That is why sound again plays an important role. Generally we say na, घसीट घसीट के पाँव में मत चलो. Why we say that? You are cutting. You are cutting the sound. That sound is actually plays a negative role also. Sound plays negative role also. Positive role, negative role. Speech again. What type of speech I have? Generally, you when we speak something nonsense, what happens? The whole thing. You just see na, from down you see you speak something nonsense. There is sound, na? You speak something nonsense, till up you go. That is where duration of life reduces. Bodily strength reduces. Yesterday, one lady was crying to me. Why are you crying? My husband goes on speaking something nonsense. But she's not able to manage that. If really we have to manage, then Hare Krishna Mahamantra comes in use. Don't talk only. I told, why are you talking to that husband then? Don't talk, stop talking to the person who doesn't value you. Just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is enough. If we do that, then we are able to balance. How the stress comes? Because of see this all these 4 lines give importance to these basic principles. If somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I have great stress," you immediately should understand that he has heard something nonsense. And some Baba says, "Oh, you heard something. Oh, you Baba ne sab malum padega unko." No, that is a basic principle. Sound is the basic principle. From sound comes the topic. Touch. And from there comes all the stress level, this level. And some Baba says like this, they feel that, oh, Baba has told like this, Baba knows everything. I just asked something. She told, how Mataji, you are able to read everything. I thought, I'm not able to read anything. I have read in the Bhagavatam. It is correlating to Bhagavatam. How fool, that is how the astrologers and all, they fool people. They don't fool people, they speak the truth. People think that they are God. That is the problem. Or some extraordinary personality, they think. Okay? Okay. Vimala, read.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। नभसो अथ विकुर्वाणात् भूतस्पर्शो गुणो अनिलः परान्वयाक्ष शब्दवांश प्राण ओजसः बलम् वायोरपि विकुर्वाणात् कालकर्म स्वभावतः उत्पद्यत्तेजो वै रूपवत् स्पर्श शब्दवत् तेजसस्तु विकुर्वाणादासीस्तम्भो रसात्मकम् रूपवत् स्पर्शवाचम्भो घोषवच्च परान्वयात् विशेषस्तु विकुर्वाणाद् दम्भसो गन्धवान् भूत् परान्वयाद् रसस्पर्श शब्द रूप गुणान्वितः। Translation: because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch, and by previous succession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's force, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is a manifestation of water full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and touch and is also full of sound. And water, being transformed from all variegatedness on earth, appears odorous and as previously becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form, respectively. Purport: the whole process of creation is an act of gradual evolution and development from one element to another, reaching up to the variegatedness of the earth as so many trees, plants, mountains, rivers, reptiles, birds, animals, and varieties of human beings. The quality of sense perception is also evolutionary, namely generated from sound, then touch, and from touch to form. Taste and odor are also generated along with the gradual development of sky, air, fire, water, and earth. They are all mutually the cause and effect of one another, but the original cause is the Lord Himself in plenary portion, as Mahavishnu lying in the causal water of the Mahat Tattva. As such, Lord Krishna is described in Brahma Samhita as the cause of all causes, and this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8 as follows. Aham sarvasya prabho bhakta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. The qualities of sense perception are fully represented in the earth and they are manifested in other elements to a lesser extent. In the sky, there is sound only, whereas in the air, there are sound and touch. In the fire, there are sound, touch, and shape, and in the water, there is taste also, along with the other perceptions, namely sound, touch, and shape. In the earth, however, there are all the above mentioned qualities with an extra development of order also. Therefore, on the earth, there is a full display of variegatedness of life, which is originally started with the basic principles of air. Diseases of the body take place due to the dearrangement of air within the earthly body of the living beings. Mental diseases result from spatial rearrangement of the air within the body, and as such, yogic exercise is specially beneficial to keep the air in order so that diseases of the body become almost nil by such exercises. When they are properly done, the duration of life also increases, and one can have control
Just
over
now we
death.
did this. Just now we did this. Mental stress, all the mental problems, as all imbalance of the air. Yeah.
Hmm. And one can have control over death also by such practices. A perfect yogi can have command over death and quit the body at the right moment when he is competent to transfer himself to a suitable planet. The Bhakti yogi, however, surpasses all the yogis because by dint of his devotional service, he is promoted to the region beyond the material sky and is placed in one of the planets in the spiritual sky by the supreme will of the Lord, the controller of everything. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Next. You understand it in different ways, but air is the most important aspect where sound is also included. Touch and sound both are included. Okay. Next. वैकारिकान् मनो यज्ञे देवा वैकारिका दश दिग्वातार्क प्रचेतोश्चे प्रचेतोष्वी वहनीन्द्रोपेन्द्रमित्रकाः वैकार वै वैकारिकान् मनो वैकारिकान् from the mode of goodness manah the mind jagge generated devaha the demigods vaikarikaha in the mode of goodness dashaha 10 dik the controller of the directions vata the controller of air arka the sun prachetaha varuna ashvi the ashwini kumaras vahani the fire god indra the king of heaven upendra the deity in heaven, Mitra, one of the 12 Adityas, Kaha, Prajapati, Brahma. So from the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest as also the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements. Such Such demigods are known as the controller of the directions, 10 directions. The controller of air, the sun god, the father of the Daksha Prajapati, Ashwini Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, the worshipable deity in heaven, the chief of Adityas, and Brahmaji, the Prajapatis, all came into it. Okay. So from the mode of goodness. So about the gunas now. Gunas has been spoken. So from the goodness, what came? Mind came. And then demigods came. Okay. Daksha Prajapati, Ashwini Kumaras, all came. Amala Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are in mute. Amla Krishna Das Prabhuji.
वैकारिका वैकारिकात्मनो यज्ञे देवा वैकारिकादश दिक्वा तर्क पर चेतोष्वी वही निंद्र काहा. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest, as also the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements. Such demigods are known as the controller of directions, the controller of air, the sun god, the father of Daksh Prajapati, the Ashwini Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, the worshipable deity in heaven, the chief of the Adityas, and Brahmaji, the Prajapati, all come into existence. Purport. Vaikarika is the neutral stage of creation, and Tejas is the initiative of creation, while Tamas is the full display of material creation under the spell of darkness of ignorance. Manufacture of the necessities of life in factories and workshops, excessively prominent in the age of Kali or in the age of machine, is the summit stage of the quality of darkness. Such manufacturing enterprises by human society are in the mode of darkness because factually there is no necessity for the commodities manufactured. Human society primarily requires food for subsistence, shelter for sleeping, defense for protection, and commodities for satisfaction of the senses. The senses are the practical signs of life, as will be explained in the next verse. Human civilization is meant for purifying the senses, and objects of sense satisfaction should be supplied as much as absolutely required, but not for aggravating artificial sensory needs. Food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification are all needs in the material existence. Otherwise, in his pure, uncontaminated state of original life, a living entity has no such needs. The needs are therefore artificial, and in the pure state of life, there are no such needs. As such, increasing the artificial needs, as is the standard of material civilization or advancing the economic development of human society, is a sort of engagement in darkness without knowledge. By such engagement, human energy is spoiled because human energy is primarily meant for purifying the senses in order to engage them in satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the supreme possessor of spiritual senses, is the master of the senses. Rishikesha. Rishi means the senses and Isha means the master. The Lord is not the servant of the senses, or in other words, he is not directed by the dictation of the senses, but the conditioned souls or the individual living entities are servants of the senses. They are conducted by the direction or dictation of the senses, and therefore, material civilization is a kind of engagement in sense gratification only. The standard of human civilization should be to cure the disease of sense gratification, and one can do this simply by becoming an agent for satisfying the spiritual senses of the Lord. The senses are never to be stopped in their engagements, but one should purify them by engaging them in the pure service of sense gratification of the master of the senses. This is the instruction of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna wanted first of all to satisfy his own senses by his decision not to fight with his kinsmen and friends. But Lord Krishna taught him the Bhagavad Gita just to purify Arjuna's decision for sense gratification. Therefore, Arjuna agreed to satisfy the senses of the Lord, and thus he fought the battle of Kurukshetra as the Lord desired. The Vedas instruct us to get out of the existence of darkness and go forward on the path of light. Tamasi ma jyotirgam. The path of light is therefore to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Misguided men or less intelligent men follow the path of self-realization without any attempt to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord by following the path shown by Arjuna and the other devotees of the Lord. On the contrary, they artificially try to stop the activities of the senses, yoga system, and they deny the transcendental senses of the Lord, jnana system. The devotees, however, are above the yogis and the jnanis because pure devotees do not deny the senses of the Lord. They want to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Only because of the darkness of ignorance do the yogis and jnanis deny the senses of the Lord and thus artificially try to control the activities of the diseased senses. In the diseased condition of the senses, there is too much engagement of the senses in increasing material needs. When one comes to see the disadvantage of aggravating the sense activities, one is called a jnani. And when one tries to stop the activities of the senses by the practice of yogic principles, he is called a yogi. But when one is fully aware of the transcendental senses of the Lord and tries to satisfy his senses, one is called a devotee of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord do not try to deny the senses of the Lord, nor do they artificially stop the actions of the senses, but they do voluntarily engage the purified senses in the service of the master of the senses, as was done by Arjuna, thereby easily attaining the perfection of satisfying the Lord, the ultimate goal of all perfection. Hare Krishna.
To stop here. Panchakalptaruscha, Kripasimhasya, Patitanam Pavanejam, Vaishnavi Purnamani, Vaishnavi Dikite, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.